You guys been listening to me? Are you guys going to school here? What's up, guys? Welcome back. So this past weekend, I went out for the first time and did real day game, or more accurately, I should say non-bar / club game. And the reason I say that is because I started around like noon, 12:30, but we went all fucking day and we didn't get back until like 2 in the morning or something. So, you know, it was a fun day, but we were pretty much without going to the bars and the clubs. And the biggest reason for that was because the wing that I went with was not 21 yet. He was like real close, you know, like I think it's this month is his birthday, but not quite. So, you know, we just had a great time. And so in this video, instead of focusing on going out alone, that's kind of going to be a topic for another video. What I really want to focus on in this video is finding those high quality wings and the importance of them, the value of them, priceless, truly value of them. And that's, you know, the reason I'm so passionate about speaking about that this week is because, like I said, I had that experience, and I credit pretty much 100%, maybe like 90-95% of my excellence that I demonstrated this weekend and that I was able to experience to having a wing to push me, return to, praise, and have praise me and all that. So we're gonna make 3 points. First of all, I'm gonna compare and contrast that going out alone versus going out with a wing, and you know, the benefits, the pros and cons of each. And then I'm gonna make some points on the fact that not all wings are made the same. You know, you might have some childhood friends that have kind of been with you for some time, and you know, it'd be cool, I guess, if you could get them motivated, but I think more likely, in my experience at least, it's going to be very hard to do that. Most guys are just not ready to stretch themselves in that way. So, you know, if you can do that, that's fantastic. But I think probably you're going to have to like get them drunk. You have to pep talk them every single time or whatever, and that's cool. But you know, that's I'm going to give you some tips on what to watch out for. And then finally, we'll wrap up by offering some tips on actually how to find that quality in your friends that you're going out with, so that you can have for yourself these high quality friends that, you know, just make the game so much more fun and easier, and yet it doesn't detract from that, you know, the stretching that you know, is required for you to, you know, stretch your comfort zone like that, or at least not more than you might expect. So let's get into it. All right, so there's a few things that you're gonna get going out alone that you're not gonna get going out with wings, or at least you're not gonna get to the same degree. And those are, first of all, you're gonna be cultivating self-trust. When you go out alone, one of the very first things that I took away from doing that is I kind of proved to myself that I could in the first place, right? Like, I mean, just showing yourself like that nothing bad happens, nobody really cares. That's actually another point here. Nobody really cares if you're there alone, as long as you own it and you're not ashamed about the fact that you're there alone. And you can even make it like a little joke. Like, I remember I went to the bar and I had it on plenty of occasions where some girl or some person would, like, you know, ask me like, hey, we're your friends or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, you know, I'm here alone, I'm a loner, I don't have any friends. Or, you know, if you're not like that ballsy, or if you're not, maybe that's not even the case, you could even just say something more along the lines of like, you know, oh yeah, like I was supposed to meet with some friends here, but they ditched and I still wanted to go out, so I was like, fuck it, and I'm still here. So yeah, so, you know, prove to yourself that you can do it, and then prove to yourself also that people really don't care, so long as you own it, which is another thing that you're going to be forced to learn how to do, unless of course you'd rather go down the self-shaming route. Own it, don't be ashamed, and nobody gives a shit. The last thing I'll say about going out alone before going into the wing side is that as you expose yourself to all these different kinds of people and all these different kinds of like attitudes, moods, people are there for so many different reasons, and they have all different kinds of intentions. You're exposing yourself to all that, and in turn, you know, gauging sort of exposing yourself to the reactions of others and the situations of others and stuff like that. You'll in turn be learning about your own tastes, what makes you tick, what you find attractive, what you're not willing to put up with, and not what kind of people you don't want in your life, and so on and so forth. You'll be getting that to a massive degree when you go out and actually interact with other people on your own. Moving on now to the wings. So, you know, going out alone, very, very powerful, but it wasn't until last weekend, like I kind of already alluded to in the intro, that I really discovered just how much more fucking fun and easier it is with wings. And this probably has a lot to do with the fact I've already gone out alone, but going out with wings, man, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. So, like, when I went out with my wing this past weekend, it was a lot like it was just more comfortable, like to go walk through like the Walmart, for example, or we also went to this like outdoor shopping mall, and we'd be like walking through the streets or whatever, and before we found any opportunities, so to speak, we'd be vibing with each other, so we could be like spitting jokes back and forth, be telling each other stories, asking each other questions, and like learning about each other. And then as soon as we kind of like saw an opportunity to approach, one of us would kind of take it, and it'd be so easy to draw them into that vibe. Whereas if you go out alone, it's a little bit different with the bar or the club, but if you're going out alone and you're not in the bar or the club, you try to like walk through Walmart, or you try to walk down like some outdoor shopping mall, and you're laughing at yourself and your own jokes. I mean, that's cool and you own it. Theoretically it should be just fine. But you can see, right? I mean, how somebody might be a little more creeped out from that than if you were with a buddy and they're like, oh, they're just having a good time together. So yeah, that's a really big point that I learned this this weekend. In addition to that, the 3 P's with a wing: push, praise, and permission. Which, as you might already be able to tell, basically that just means that we were able to kind of keep each other accountable. So I push him, he pushes me, I give him permission to go ahead and do the set, he gives me permission to go ahead and do the set, and that way you don't have to constantly be pushing and like offering yourself that permission. And then of course, in addition to that, you have that praise, so that when you kind of come back from the set, if it goes well or even if it goes poorly, the least of like the very least praise that was ever given was, hey, you fucking did it, right? I mean, we did it. We had the balls to actually do it. And then the last thing I'll say there about wings, having the wing to return to, in addition to the whole like praise thing, I'll give you an example from this past weekend. I went out and for the first time I approached a girl walking on her phone, and that was very frightening to me, because I feel like that like maybe kind of like can be interpreted or construed as kind of rude. But I mean, the ideal, my friend, right, is you're interrupting people's lives for the better. Like optimally, what I'm trying to get you to do is like believe to yourself, like understand fully that whatever you have to offer her is more interesting than whatever the fuck she has going on her phone. You know what I'm saying? So when you interrupt her, she's delighted to put down her phone and talk to you instead. That's the ideal. But again, this was my first time, and so I did get rejected, and I was able to return to my wing, and the presence of that, what that represented, in what I'm making the point here, I had that sense of like safety and comfort to return to, instead of like I get blown out and then I'm just alone. I'm kind of like standing there naked, and I don't know what to do. Maybe I like approach some other girl. That'd be a good idea. But anyway, I have that wing to return to, and I have the safety of it. But in addition to that, even because I had a wing, we could make it this fun little like amusing thing. We could make this game that's just like, oh, because I returned to him and I told him what she said. I was like, oh yeah, she said she's busy. And we just laughed. We just laughed at it. And we just blah, blah, blah. We just made it into this fun little game. And that's how the whole day and night went. It was just very fun, very amusing, very lighthearted, and it just turned in this whole like day of good, bad, ugly. It was all fun, and that's really what I think that having a wing or wings, especially high quality ones, offers you. So we've gone into this distinction between going out alone, going out with wings, and before I wrap up and move on to the next section, I will encourage you right now, you have enough time across this whole journey, and you have enough reason to be doing both. You should be going out alone as well as going out with wings on a regular basis. And so that's the last thing before, let's go ahead and move on now to the fact that not all wings are made the same. Let's get into it. Becoming the type of guy who can express himself freely to anyone at any time without alcohol requires a complete shift of perspective. And for that reason, in a good wing, you're gonna find a few different things. First of all, your good wing has a very open mind. He's willing to entertain the ideas that you spit at him, not necessarily just adopt them off the bat, but he's willing to truly entertain them rather than just sort of like listening to you speak in order to react with his like criticism or disagreement or whatever. You've seen people like that, right? They're not willing to actually hear what you say. They just sort of like allow it to be said, and then they can give their 2 cents before they have listened. And so yeah, that's an open mind. Also, they don't have a judgmental nor a victimhood attitude. They're not judgmental of you. They're not judgmental of other people. They're not judgmental of themselves. They're like not overly negatively judgmental. And then in addition to that, of course, they're not like addicted to this whole victim role where their problems, their lack of progression is everybody else's fault, and they're not willing to look at their own patterns and say, what can I do for myself? What can I change about myself in order to change my results outwardly? And so that's another thing you're going to find in a wing, that non-judgmental, non-victim attitude. And then finally, this is perhaps the most important one. And, maybe going along with that, perhaps also the most difficult to find, and that is a burning desire and a willingness to actually change themselves. So that's going to be tough to find, but it is out there. And I mean, perhaps you're one of these people. If you have that burning desire and that willingness to change, you understand, of course, you know that it exists, and so maybe that can give you some hope that it exists out there too. I mean, and you can, you see YouTubers and stuff with it too. So yeah, it is out there. You just got to be patient. In my experience, most guys are simply not ready to let go of their old patterns of thinking, of behaving, of viewing the world, in order to actually open themselves up into this new reality that permits them to have effortless, fun, high quality interactions with pretty much anybody. And because of that, you speak to them and it's like speaking to a wall. There's no changing their minds. They have to do that for themselves. They have to want it for themselves. They have to be open-minded, and they have to be non-judgmental and non-victimhood. And like I said, most guys are just simply not ready. So finally, just to wrap up in this section before getting to the more positive side, some red flags to look out for. First of all, if you come across a guy and like maybe he's kind of like your wing just to kind of test him out and see if he is a good quality wing. I've had this before, quite recently actually. They talk, but they won't walk. I won't say they can't walk, but they're not willing, or they're not like, they're just, at that time, they're not willing to walk. So they talk the talk, they're not willing to walk the walk. So they're quick to judge you, they're like, oh, hey, here's where you messed up and you could have done this better and blah, 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 blah. But when it's their turn, they're very slow, or they're just reluctant. They won't do it at all. They won't actually take action. And, so that's just a very funny, like kind of irritating, to be honest, observation on my part. But yeah, so another thing is excuses. They'll say, something along the lines of like, yes, I'm interested. Yes, I want to grow in this way, but it's too late. Yes, but she's on the phone. Yes, but they look busy. Yes, but they're in a rush. Yes, but she's with her parents. Yes, but she's with a guy. Blah, 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 blah. Doesn't fucking matter, man. All of them are just excuses. None of that shit matters. Like, again, there's probably genuine reasons why you might not want to actually do something, but most of the time, those excuses are just inhibiting your potential. And so be on the lookout for that. Most guys have a shit ton of them, and I'm sure that I'll hear 1,000 different kinds, across my journey, but so far I've heard tons already. So yeah, and the last thing there is they're very oversensitive and overreactive to like negativity or some like maybe so like it could be like negativity in others, but it also could be maybe like inadequacy within themselves. So I'll give you a couple examples. The first one, I went out with a wing one time and we were hanging out with this guy who we met at the bar, and we had just finished playing a game of Pong, and this guy had spilled a drink on my wing, and to his face my wing was like, oh, don't worry about it, blah blah blah, shit happens. But as soon as the guy turned around, my wing freaked out. He was like, fuck that guy, that was on purpose, did you see that shit, that was totally on purpose, and this and that, and blah blah blah. He got all angry and just like totally freaking out to himself, not actually confronting the guy, not necessarily angry, but even just like letting him know like, hey, that was a mistake, you shouldn't have done that, blah blah. He didn't allow that to surface because, again, he was like afraid or whatever. Talking from last video, the whole being real thing, wasn't able to do that. He was too afraid, and so he kind of brought it out, I guess, on me or himself. And he just had complete lack of self-control, complete lack of emotional control, complete lack of like forward and honesty to that guy. And yeah, so just very, very bad situation. And then another example, same wing actually, perhaps even the same night, I really don't know, but anyway, same wing. We were sitting at the bar together, and he was sitting on my left, and there were some girls on the other side of him. And when they left, he like called me out, and he's like, oh, I figured you would have talked to those girls. And I was like, oh, my bad, like, they were on your side. I figured maybe you would talk to them, but okay, no problem. Just go ahead and give me a challenge, and next set I'll go ahead and approach. And so he's like, okay, 2 girls on the dance floor, go and talk to them right now. I was like, okay, got right up, went right to them on the dance floor, talked to them. It went okay, but pretty quickly I came back, and you could just tell, like, before I even sat down, you could tell that my wing was very disturbed. He was like, he was like hanging his head low, just like kind of cupping onto his drink. And I sat down, and I think I said something, but he didn't reply. He just kind of ignored me. And then after just like a few seconds, he actually started like kicking the counter, and like I don't remember if he was like banging the counter, if he was like smashing his head or something, but he was like, you could tell like he had some demons, like he was like fucking pissed off. And I interpreted that as meaning like he wasn't ready to see me kind of succeed in that, because he knows that he kind of feels deep down that he's not ready for it. And so he, again, like, instead of seeing an opportunity to learn, instead of being inspired by my success, he was it just reinforced that feeling of inadequacy within himself, and that made him very angry. Not surprisingly, but there's only so much that you can do or say to a kind of person like that if they're not ready to challenge their old patterns, and they're clinging to that old identity. As much as I would love to have sympathy and patience and compassion, like, I've played that game before, and really all that ends up happening is my fire in my chest ends up dimming when I'm trying to light theirs, and it doesn't do anything for them. And then who am I helping at that point? It's like nobody. I'm just like, I'm taking away from myself and not even helping the guy that I'm trying to help. So anyway, let's get off of this negative tangent, dude. This section is important, but let's finish up now. Let's go into actually how to find quality wings for yourself, so that you can go out with them and push each other, have that praise, have that feedback, safety, amusement, and all the other things we went into in the last section. Let's get into it. Okay, so there are reasons to go out alone, there are reasons to go out with wings, and we understand now that good quality wings are pretty tough to come by. We understand all that, and that's all cool, but how do you actually go about attracting high quality wings into your life? Number one tip I would give you is the golden rule. Whatever quality you want to see in a wing, be that for them or for him. Be a leader, be generous with people, offer value when you go out. Don't be there to take, like we already kind of mentioned in that other video, the sort of non-neediness, right? It's about giving, it's about offering value and offering good emotions, offering love. Another kind of point along with that is be a leader, or serve as an example to people, or as a role model. Be the one that is creating cool situations. You're the one that initiates those, those days and those nights where we actually go out and we actually take action, we actually do these cool things. And as you do that more and more regularly, you'll actually start to get sort of like that reputation as the guy that is the creator of cool situations. And I'll even take it one step further. If you're the guy that is like the most action taking out of your group, I'm not saying this is a necessity, especially in the beginning. I don't want this to stifle you out of actually taking action into the next steps for whatever those are for you. But if you are that guy and you're the one that sort of naturally is the most action taking because you're the most motivated and you're willing to take on that role, you'll find it very quickly where I'm gonna paint an example in your head. I want this to really like get your mouth to be salivating, so you can taste, this reality of this could be you. If you want it to be, this can be you. Let's say that you go out to let's say you go out and day game. Let's say that you're like in some walking mall, and you and 2 other buddies are standing in sort of like a circle, and you're just going back and forth with jokes. And then out of the corner of your eye, you see a couple of cuties walking by. And let's say as soon as let's say that you notice them, and then your wings, the guys that you're with, they notice you notice them, and then they kind of look at them and they see that the 2 cuties are walking by. Immediately they both look at you, and the reason they're looking at you is because they know you are the guy. You're the fucking guy that's most likely to go and talk to those cuties. You're going to initiate the conversation. You're going to have the balls to open them up and bring them into the vibe that you guys are already sharing. That could be you, and it will be you if you want it to be. that is an example of how you can be a quality wing for somebody else, and that will naturally attract that quality back into your life. It doesn't have to be all at once if you're not already kind of on this path, but just understand the ideal, which is you are a creator of situations, you're a creator of cool things, and that by taking that initiative, people kind of look up to that, and it will naturally attract that same kind of level of wokeness, you know, into your life. Because if you're on the opposite end, of course it's going to be more likely that those people will just not notice you, or they'll just, you know, not pay that much attention because they know that they can see that it's not quality. So offer that value to people, be what you want to see in a wing, and it will be so much easier for you to be able to find and attract those high quality wings into your life. In the meantime, go out alone. We already kind of mentioned the reasons for going out alone anyway. Even if you're able to go out with wings and high quality ones at that, continue to go out alone and have patience while you're going out alone, because like we already have noted, you know, high quality wings are not common. They're very hard to find, and it's not the typical guy that's very motivated and has that fire in his chest that wants to actually push himself to get better with this. And so just be patient, but don't assume, with that patience, don't assume that while you go out and you're kind of meeting just like the local crowd, that you won't come across a guy that has that fire in his chest. It is sort of unlikely, it's rare, but it only takes one to have that priceless value, and then boom, you make that connection, you guys live in the same place, then, you know, boom, bang, now you got a high quality wing. So have patience, and don't assume that you're not gonna find somebody really quality just going out and meeting a local crowd. And in addition to that, you know, with going out alone, if it's like in your heart that the only reason you're going out alone is to find a high quality wing, I mean, you know, we already mentioned in the first section the reasons you should be going out alone anyway, but if none of that convinced you, you don't want to be dependent on having a wing or wings anyway, right? I mean, you want to have the confidence to be able to go out and interact with people and express yourself freely without having the training wheels of a buddy, right? I mean, it's a lot more fun, a lot easier, and you can kind of like transcend the training wheels and still value that, but you don't want to have it as training wheels and then only be able to do whatever you're doing with the training wheels. So have that in mind and go out alone anyway, and while you're out alone, keep your eyes peeled. You understand now what a quality wing looks like. Be that, and continue to go out alone, have patience, and then be on the lookout for it in other guys while you're out. That is it, guys. I want to just go ahead and give a quick summary, and then we'll sign out. Let's do it. You should be going out alone in order to learn about yourself and to learn to trust yourself. You should be going out with wings in order to actually get that action out of yourself and make that easier and more enjoyable. We now know that coming across quality wings is very difficult. They're tough to come by because they're so rare, but the best way to go about doing that is to continue going out alone, have patience, and be that ideal wing of yours for somebody else. Now guys, if you're still afraid to go out alone, I want you to leave in the comment section below your top 1 to 3 concerns preventing you from going out alone, and as soon as the comment section is sufficient, I'm going to make a video on that topic to make it more exciting for you. Hopefully that's the ideal. I want it to be easier and more exciting, the prospect of going out on your own to get all those benefits we talked about. So that is it, guys. Thank you, and I will see you next week.